Hi guys, happy Friday. Welcome to our first Form Friday and also our first official training day for this 5K. So for Form Friday, we're going to start off with looking at foot strike because I think this is the foundation of running. Like how your foot hits the ground is a huge contributor to your overall form. So I think the majority of people are going to be heel strikers unless they've had, been formally trained to not do this. It's the most natural thing to do given two main reasons. I think footwear and running shoes, how they're designed, and also our tendency to overstride, I think plays a little bit of a role into it. So with running shoes, we've obviously adapted to running in shoes. For good reason. They're protecting your feet while you're running. And the way they're designed, they have a lot of cushioning in the heel. So in addition to just being cushioned, your heel is also elevated above your toes, and that's referred to as the drop of a running shoe. So that ranges somewhere between 5 millimeters at the low end and then 15 at the high end. So lots of cushioning, the way your foot's positioned, kind of forces you into that habit of heel striking because it feels comfortable. It's, it's nice and cushy, and it's still a repetitive motion. And at the end of the day, it's going to cause wear and tear on your body. The other thing I mentioned is overstriding, and that's something I think we have a tendency to do when you're trying to increase your speed, which basically just means your foot is landing far out in front of your center of gravity. You think that it's going to kind of speed you up, but that's not the case. It's actually going to slow you down, so we'll take a look at that. So I like to think about with these different forces that are acting on your body. So actually, I didn't mention in my intro video, but I went to school for mechanical engineering. I didn't study biomechanics. But I think that just that fundamental understanding of forces and systems helps me to understand what's happening to the body when you're running. So we're just going to look at it from that standpoint because I think that's helped me personally understand why I've had some of the problems I've had in the past. So for the sake of argument, we're just going to look at heel striking versus midfoot landing. The third would be more of like a forefoot landing, which is something that would apply more to sprinters. Like if you watch a sprinter run, you can tell that they're like very up forward on their toes. But I would say a midfoot landing is ideal for the 5K distance and any distances beyond that. So if we take a look first at heel striking, just take a minute to visualize sort of what this looks like. So when you heel strike, your foot is extended past your center of gravity, your heel's hitting the ground first, your toes are pointed up into the air, and as you step, there's going to be a force sort of up your leg, so towards you, diagonally towards you. That force it's an impact right to your heel, and it's traveling up your leg and then up towards the rest of your body, your hips, and so on. Besides that force and that impact, there's also a component of that force that's pushing back towards you, which is effectively a braking force, and that's what's actually slowing you down. So we don't want that. We don't want the extra forces on the body, and we don't want to be slowed down. Most of us are trying to get faster. So not good for heel striking. If you take a look at midfoot landing in the same way, as you stride, your foot is supposed to land right underneath your center of gravity. If you're doing this, your ankle is going to be slightly, bent. Obviously, your knees are going to be bent. And the first part of your foot that's going to contact the ground is your midfoot, or like the ball of your foot. Force in this case, because you're landing right under your center of gravity, is going to be straight up, and your ankle and your knee are going to act as, and the muscles around them. So your ankle, your knee, and then like your calf muscles are going to act as a spring that absorbs that force. So you're not just driving your heel and like your calves into the ground, you're absorbing that force with the muscles in your leg. Also, because it's a vertical force, there's going to be no component of the force that's acting against you. So you're getting rid of that braking force. It's not going to slow you down. So hopefully you can see just fundamentally the differences between the two. We don't want that braking force, and you really don't want the extra forces on your bones. You want to use your muscles and your knees and everything to help cushion your impact to the ground. That will, in turn, that'll help you run faster, and you won't have, hopefully the pain associated with pounding your heels into the ground as well. So the shorter runs throughout our program, and also just your option to run or walk as well, I think provide an ideal environment to help practice the proper form. So some tips as you look to maybe look at your own form and trying to improve. So first I would say just slow down. I mean, it's not a race yet. Slow down and just consciously evaluate what you're doing. Focus on taking smaller and quicker strides. So a lot of you may have running watches that will give you your cadence. You want to kind of aim for about 170 steps per minute. Make sure that I mentioned this before, just make sure you're conscious to what you're doing. So make sure that you're feeling your weight on the balls of your feet. Your heels may kiss the ground, but you shouldn't have that sensation overall of rolling from your heel to your toe. If you're having trouble with this, I would suggest trying to run barefoot outside in the grass or somewhere safe. Not suggesting switching to barefoot running. I mentioned before that I think shoes are great, but it will help you get the correct sensation, because it's nearly impossible to heel strike without shoes on, because it's going to be too painful. So take your shoes off, go for a quick little run in the yard, see if you can get that sensation correct. Remember that we talked about midfoot landing and how your calves and your ankles are helping to cushion the impact to your body. Those are new muscles, not new muscles, but they're going to be activated in a new way, and they're going to be sore. So even if you are a seasoned runner and you typically run 4 or 5 miles a day, don't go out and do your normal run and try to switch up your foot strike all at the same time. If you don't want to completely, shorten your workout, consider switching to a running and walking interval so you can still be out on your feet, but you can decrease your running time, because you do have to build up those new muscles that are now serving a different function. Actually, the run walking is great for anyone, beginners or seasoned runners, because this is a mental exercise as well as a physical exercise. It requires a lot of focus to change your habits. If you're still having trouble, you can consider changing your footwear. I mentioned that I think that's one of the biggest contributors to causing people to heel strike. So personally, I would recommend a shoe with a minimal or zero drop. I like the Ultra Torins. They are not the most fashionable shoe, but they are certainly functional, and they helped me reteach myself how to learn. And last, I would say, if you're not sure of your current foot strike, if you think maybe you're doing it right, maybe you're doing it wrong, you can check out the bottoms of your shoes, see where they're worn. If they're worn in the back on the heel, you're probably heel striking. Or you can also take a video of yourself. I think that's one of the best ways to evaluate form. Which brings me to next week's topic, which is just looking at your form through video and analyzing different aspects of it. As I mentioned last week, you never see yourself run, so it's very hard to address your habits and any form mistakes that you may have. So next week we're going to go over some different areas of concern in running form that you can evaluate in your own running if you take a few videos of yourself. So take a couple videos, running from the front, running from the back, and running from the side, and then we will take a look at how you can address any issues, or at least pick out issues that you will want to address moving forward. So until next week, good luck on your first week of training. And if you have any questions about anything I said here, feel free to reach out in the comments of our Facebook group. Bye, guys.